When I woke up, I was all alone. Everyone's gone. Is it because of those monsters? What do I do now? Do I fight and live? Or do those monsters get me? I don't have any reason to go on living. But I'm scared to die. I'm so afraid of pain. Should I run away? I want to find somebody. I don't like being alone. But is there anyone left alive?
Hey there everybody, and welcome to the sub-scenario for Silent Hill 2, Born from a Wish. As you can tell, we will be playing as Maria for this little bit of additional story, and we'll get some idea of maybe what her mentality was like before she had met James. But let's look at her inventory real quick. She doesn't really start out with a lot. She starts out with a revolver with only one bullet, which, if you can assume from the cinematic we just saw, she was contemplating using that one bullet for suicide. Oddly enough, the revolver looks to only have 5 to 6 chambers, but it can actually hold 10 bullets at a time, which probably is just an oversight relative to the initial handgun that James gets. But it will be our primary weapon for the game, or for the scenario I should say. We also get another weapon, which is the Chinese cleaver, which is her melee weapon. As you can tell, the animations and attacks are kind of lackluster, and really I think it's pretty much on par with the piece of wood, so if we have a gun and we have plenty of bullets, there's really no reason to use any of the melee weapons. But as you might be a bit confused, I just decided to skip the running through the streets. Basically, this is a rather large house that's near Rosewater Park, and they made you run all the way from Heaven's Night over to this house, so I'd rather just go ahead and skip that 4 to 5 minutes of running around looking for items. But this is going to be our main center for this little sub-scenario. This is the Baldwin Mansion. Now, it may not seem like much initially, but this is actually a pretty large mansion overall in a pretty large area. Need to make sure and remember that particular fireplace. That's actually going to be kind of necessary for later on, but this is a very handy map, especially considering that the house is rather sprawling and can get kind of confusing. And you may notice this portrait on the wall here. This is actually an indication of a puzzle we'll be doing later. Not really a solution to the puzzle, just vaguely indicating that, you know, there is a puzzle waiting.
Is somebody there? Open up! Hello?
Stop it. You're disturbing me.
Thank God. I finally found somebody. Can you open the door?
No.
But why?
Is it really necessary for me to answer all your tedious questions?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I want to be alone. Other people just irritate me.
I just want to see another human face. Do you know what's happening in this town? There's no one here. Just monsters.
Yes, I know. But so what? It has nothing to do with me. No one here means there's no one to disturb me.
You want to be alone in this insane asylum?
Yes, exactly. But how can you say that it's this town that's insane? Perhaps it's we who are insane. Both of us. Hopelessly insane. Are you satisfied? Would you leave me alone?
My name is Maria. What's your name?
Ernest.
Hemingway?
Baldwin.
Ernest? I'll be back.
But after that rather stilted conversation, we meet the owner of the house, Ernest Baldwin, who, through reasons as yet unknown, would rather just stay in his room alone and let the world burn outside. Maria, though, kind of showing, I guess, her codependency that would really spring up later with James, is really shown to want to see and have some kind of human contact. And assuming that she really doesn't have any real memories of any point before the changing room in Heaven's Night, then we can only assume the measure of terror and fear that she's feeling right now. But we found our first puzzle piece here, this whiteboard. You may recognize the indention, I suppose, or the object that's shown on the piece of whiteboard as a part of the rebirth items, the white chrism. But we'll be learning about that soon enough as we continue to explore the mansion as a whole. But that crashing you heard was actually the cover to the fireplace, which, if we investigate, reveals a ladder in a secret chamber up inside the chimney. And we find a rather lavish garden waiting for us up inside the chimney itself, and the two final pieces of the puzzle. Thankfully they don't make you go searching around too much, as this is just a little ancillary bit. But we have a stone depression and what appears to be that kind of looks like the lines on the inside of a tree trunk. But this is giving us a little bit of backstory regarding, I guess, at least Ernest Baldwin's mindset, and why he might feel a bit disconnected with the rest of society. Apparently, he lost something very dear to him, and he probably never got over it. Now, you may also be noticing that one in particular is rather capitalized, and that is, for those of you that might remember the Crimson Ceremony book from the final video for the Silent Hill 2 LP, that one was also how the god referenced in the ceremony kind of referenced himself as. So, to get that key out of its hole, we have to use these 3 particular boards to basically make sure that none of the green underlying screen is present. So, before we do that though, we're just going to have a quick read of the separate boards themselves. They are actually all items that were required for the rebirth ending and the resurrection ceremony, as stated in the Crimson Ceremony book. And they each have a mild description of what they were entailing in the overall ceremony. So thankfully the actual solution to the puzzle isn't too hard. I mean, it's mostly just matching up peg holes and, I guess kind of assuming that you want to put them down in the order that the items were actually obtained in the normal game. Hopefully you're not doing the sub-scenario before the actual game, because to some degree it kind of doesn't make sense, and in other senses it kind of ruins the game, or at least some of the storyline. But first we want to place the white board, and we're going to place it normally. Then we're going to place the black board. And as you place the black board, it gives you the option of turning it, but you actually just want to place it in as is. And finally, you want to place in the red board, or the Crimson Ceremony book itself. And you actually want to turn that one 90 degrees to the left. Which actually allows for all the holes to be covered and the key to become unwedged from the tombstone.